This is episode 29 of Pinnacle FC. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgothorpe with you once again to dissect, to break down the biggest fixtures ahead across European domestic football. Jake, myself, I'm coming off a rare bad week, so I feel like the bounce back is truly in play here. And with the Champions League in the rearview mirror, at least in terms of these playoff knockout rounds, we can just focus on the domestic game for the time being. We should mention that the Premier League play on the weekend and midweek again, so the fixtures still coming fast and furious. Jake, you're still in a good spot. Champions League was kind to you midweek as well, so we venture forward here and some significant fixtures upcoming this weekend as well.
Yeah, some big fixtures across Europe as well, really, with interesting title races across the board. I know the Premier League obviously looks foregone, but I don't think it quite is yet. Italy is what looks wide open. That's a good one. And obviously Spain as well, with both Madrid clubs and Barcelona right in the mix. So, yeah, there's a lot to get excited about as we make the turn for home in the league.
As always on this podcast, the markets, the lines that we use are courtesy of Pinnacle, Bet Smart, Bet Pinnacle. So no jibber jabber, no wasting time on this podcast here on 29. We're feeling fine, and let's venture ahead to this weekend. And we'll start off as we do in the Premier League. On Sunday, I guess this is the marquee fixture. Can we still call it that when Man City is taking part? We should mention that we're taking a look at the lines this weekend. We're recording this podcast before the games are played Wednesday. But let's start off with Manchester City and Liverpool. The game is going to be played on Sunday. Ahead of that, and what's going to come up after this fixture, or after this recording, I should say, is City and Real Madrid in the Champions League, as well as Liverpool making the trip to Aston Villa to play a midweek Premier League game as well. City 3-1-1 at home over the course of their last 5 games, 13 goals scored, 5 conceded, but their XG not as good at 9.49 over the course of that span, which kind of articulates maybe some of the struggles that they've had over the time. They've gone over 2.5 in their last 9 games. Both teams' scores played in 6 of 7. Manuel Akanji is out, and we'll see who survives the midweek trip to Madrid. For Liverpool, they're at Villa, like I said on Wednesday, 3-2-0 in their last 5 away. 12 goals scored, just 3 conceded. Gakpo and Jones are both returning back into the team. Head-to-head, Liverpool haven't lost to City in 3. City haven't had a clean sheet against Liverpool in 12. Liverpool 2-0 victory earlier this season at Anfield. The XG in that game, Jake, it wasn't even close, 3.57 to just 0.484 for City. Liverpool had 5 big chances in that game. It could have been worse than a 2-0 in that one. How are you looking at the markets here? Liverpool, based on their standing and the fixture buildup and what City are facing right now, are considerable favorites heading into this game. Is there a play to be made on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm not in agreement with the market at all here. I think that Liverpool are way too short. It might be a little bit of. I think it's just based on price. This is actually the biggest price that Pep Guardiola's Manchester City team have been since he joined the Premier League at home. Plus 180 is massive. The next biggest price they've ever been in a home game is plus 135 against Chelsea, which they went on and won 3-1. Last season in this fixture, they were minus 145. Granted, there's been a little bit of, there's the big difference in terms of teams. Rodri being out being the obvious one. Liverpool looking a little bit more cold on the slot. But I know if you take that as an implied probability, last season they had a 59% chance of beating Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool at the Etihad. This season it's just 36%, and that 23% jump just too big. I don't see where the gap has been closed that much. So I actually think City are a value play, whether you want to get them on the handicap or just the outright win, to be honest, because I've been a little bit disappointed in Liverpool the last couple of games. And I think it's down to tiredness, really, more than anything. So if you look at their matches, they play midweek, obviously we record this on a Wednesday. But after that Villa game, which is a tough away game against a good team, this match against City will be their 19th match in 67 days. So that means they'll have played every 3.5 days. So 2 games a week, basically, since the end of November. And we've started to see the signs of that, I think, because against Plymouth, granted they rotated, but even the second string looked tired in that game. Against Everton, they were second best throughout the match. They were very fortunate to get a point from that, even though it was Everton that scored the last gasp equaliser. They only generated 0.8 expected goals. And then against Wolves, they had a complete no-show in the second half. They had no shots in the second half of the match against Wolves, team in the relegation battle, and were hanging on for dear life. I think there's signs of chinks in the armour. I think that it's only a small sample size, but I think Nico Gonzalez is going to be a bit of a game changer for City at the back end of this season. He looked really good against Newcastle, gave them a platform that they've not had in recent weeks. The only reason I would probably take City on the handicap for a bit of extra security is because of the tiredness aspect against playing away in Madrid. They've got a flight back. They've got a game that could go to extra time, could go to penalties, could pick up a couple of injuries, but I fully expect City to be better than this price suggests. I expected around maybe plus 150, which would suggest that Liverpool are a better team, but City have a small home field advantage. As opposed to Liverpool, just, if this was a neutral venue, you're looking at even money Liverpool, which I think is a little bit too short given what we've seen recently. As I said, the tiredness aspect and the fact that City have, for all their issues, they have still been fairly good at home. Got the fourth best expected goal difference per game at home this season at +1. There's not too much between them and the teams above them either. So, yeah, I think a price play, City are simply too big. If you wanted something a little bit bigger, City win and both teams to score +319, +319, because the chances are Liverpool are going to get on the score sheet given that City's defence. But yeah, I thought this was a little bit too dramatic in Liverpool. I would not be at all surprised if Liverpool lost to Aston Villa in midweek, that we don't start to see this line shift. And I think by kickoff on Sunday, I think City will be closer to around +150.
Well, that also depends on the way that things play at the Bernabeu on Wednesday as well. Look, because of the unknown variables, because both teams play on Wednesday, because how dominant Liverpool were in the first meeting between these two sides, I understand your rationale. I just can't get there. If I'm going to back anything in terms of City in the market, it's going to be over 1.5 goals at -111, because I think you're right. Liverpool have looked leggy. They haven't had a clean sheet in 3. They've given up some sloppy goals at the back, but I just don't think that City can defend Liverpool going the other way either. So the goal total at 3.25 might be a little bit low. It's being juiced to the over, so you might want to bring it up to 3.5 to add more bang to your buck. But yeah, if City are going to win this game, I have a hard time thinking that they're going to keep a clean sheet, Jake. So if you're going to make a pro City play and back them to win, I think both teams to score or over the total, a winner and over the total of 2.5 is a way that you maybe can get a little bit more bang on your buck in terms of this fixture. All right, good start here, Jake. Backing City, this hasn't happened for quite some time. So yeah, it's not a sign of the apocalypse. It's just a sign of the times. How about that? What else in the Premier League is catching your eye this weekend?
We'll start on Friday night, because I think Brentford's price to win at Leicester just too big. +101. I mean, anytime you get a plus number away at Leicester, you have to take it. For comparison, Fulham were -125 when they went there and won. Palace were -110. Brighton were -154. They only drew that game, but they were 2-0 up and should have probably seen that out. So, yeah, I think Brentford are in and around that mix of teams where they should be, in minus numbers, probably -110, -115, similar to where Palace were. And yeah, it's just a weird, like we spoke about it earlier in the season, the weird quirk around Brentford starting so well at home because they had such easy fixtures. Away from home, they were rubbish, had really tough fixtures, and now it's completely flipped. So they're winless in 5 at home. They've had 4 defeats, but away from home, they're unbeaten in 4 with 3 wins. And it's just because of the schedule. They've played 4 teams recently that they fancy the chances against, and teams that are in the relegation battles, like the Southampton, and they've been taking advantage. And yeah, we should side against them really, because Leicester they're just not a very good team. They weren't a good team before Van Nistelrooy took over. They've not improved. They've lost 9 of the last 10 matches, lost 5 straight at home as well, and they're comfortably one of the 3 worst teams in the league based on expected goals. So Brentford to win +101 looks almost too good to be true. I mean, you can get a tiny, as we record, you can get a tiny bit more value backing them on the handicap. It's +102 for Brentford minus 0.5, so basically just the same bet.
The hardest part for me here is deciding which market to back, because this is a game that jumps off the page. It's Friday night football. Look, Leicester City at home since Christmas, 5 losses in five. They haven't scored a goal in their last 5 home games in the Premier League. They conceded 11 over that span. I mean, they haven't kept a clean sheet in 21 games. I just look at this and they have to be able to score against Brentford, right? They can't go 6 straight games at home without scoring. Brentford, I mean, they've won their last 3 away games in the Premier League, 8 goals scored, 1 conceded. They put up good XG totals in all of their recent games. 1.96 in a 1-0 win at West Ham, 1.66 against Spurs, 1.92 at Palace. Even against Liverpool, 1.2, 2.39 against City. So they create chances. They beat Leicester City 4-1 earlier in this year. This tie has continuously gone to the over as well. Over shifted out from over 3 at -102 to -110. I'm not put off by that whatsoever. I think that this is another one where you can combine the total and pick a side. Brentford win in over 2.5 at +178. That's probably the way to do it if you want to, again, try to get a little bit more bang for your buck. So that's what I'm siding to. Even the team total, Brentford over a goal and a half at -134. Have you seen Leicester City try to defend? It's just, they can't do it. So, yeah, a number of different options in this game. Pick your pleasure, not your poison, and hopefully it plays for you in this one. All right, what else over the weekend, Jake?
I think we've got to back Everton as to beat Man United at +161. I was surprised to see how big the price was. David Moyes has won the same number of Premier League matches in 6 games as Amorim's managed in his entire tenure at 14 games. And he probably done that with a lower base as well. Everton were obviously really struggling to just score goals, never mind pick up points. And yeah, the Toffees are now above Man United in the table, which might be a bit of a surprise to some people. And they are the joint.
Nope, not to me.
Well, they bridged the gap because they were way off on United, and United are just falling like a stone. Yeah, they're the joint most informed team in the league, alongside Arsenal, Liverpool. Won 4, drawn 1 the last 5. Pretty remarkable turnaround. And I think the most important thing is the players have seemed to have got on board with Moyes' messages very quickly, understand what he wants. Whereas it's a complete contrast at United, where the players still aren't sure what Amorim's wanting, and then you throw in the, mass injury issues. I mean, they only had 12 fit players last week. It was just a bunch of kids and Lindelof on the bench, and all of a sudden you do start to look and think, well, Everton probably should be a little bit shorter here. They've had 4 home games against under David Moyes. They've averaged nearly 2 expected goals for per game and 1 expected goal against per game. So a very, very strong process in those 4 games. And then you throw in that they played 3 of last season's top 5. And granted, Tottenham aren't what they were last season, but Aston Villa are still a good team. Liverpool are top of the table, and they put up that kind of process. I think it's very impressive. Under Amorim, the record's it's just bad in the league. 4 wins, 2 draws, 8 defeats, a 57% loss rate, which is terrible. They generally across since he took over, data-wise, they've been around the 13th best team in the league across all the different metrics. As I said, injury crisis is here.
Again.
I don't really need to say much more because I just think they're in a better spot. They've got a little bit. I think the key word for me is understanding, because Moyes has come in and stamped what he wants straight away, and everyone's got it. They're all pulling in the right direction. Amorim's tried to do that for 3-4 months now, and the players still don't have a clue what he wants from them in this system. And at what point does he change, or does he just?
He doesn't. I mean, I just
go down with the shit.
I mean, I like him. I just don't like his football. Trying to watch Spurs and United on the weekend, I don't even know what that was. Like, those are 2 very bad teams. The only thing that's worse than the on-play field for Manchester United are the books off it. Seriously, that's the only thing that's worse reading. I'll just stay away from this game.
It's million quid they had to spend to get rid of 10 hours.
They're $1 billion in debt.
Yeah,
$1 billion. The Glazers have sucked the life out of the club, and this is what you have. Bad football, bad management, just bad. A pro Everton play, I totally get it. Anything else in the Prem?
Yeah, quite a few actually. I like Brighton on the handicap at Southampton.
Yeah,
Surprisingly.
I feel like it's the weekend to be a little bit square here. Like
Absolutely.
Brighton on the hand. Like how can you back any pro Southampton play? I feel the same way about Leicester City. Those are two teams that in virtually every scenario
Yeah,
you make a play against them, right?
exactly. Yeah, and obviously last week we were on Bournemouth on this exact same handicap. They covered it very easily, 3-1. Yeah, since November, Southampton have lost 7 straight home league games by an aggregate of 25-5. So they've been absolutely pummeled. They've taken to the field. And yeah, Brighton, they played 5 away games against the current bottom 8. They've won 3, drawn 2. They thumped Ipswich 2-0. They were 2-0 up against Leicester, obviously ended up drawing 2-2, but that was in the midst of their real wobble. And yeah, it's just more around Southampton, just how bad they are. And I think Brighton are a top half team ultimately. You should be able to get the job done. Yeah, are you making the same play?
Yeah, just Southampton have given up 3 in 5 of their last 6 and 2+ in their last 7 games.
It's
And
bad.
Taylor Harwood and Stevens are still questionable for this weekend. Even if they do play, does it really make that much of a difference? But yeah, and Brighton have responded with those back-to-back wins against a struggling Chelsea side, but they were demolished 7-0 against Nottingham Forest, and things have progressed in the right way. The only way that you're tiptoeing around this game is you look at them, they played to a 1-1 draw last time. Southampton stole something, but they're a much different team. I think they're actually worse now than they were under Russell Martin. Yeah, this, I hate to be such a square on this one, but Brighton on the handicap away from home, I see very little reason not to make that play at plus 102. The only other game for me this weekend in the Premier League, over in Bournemouth and Wolves, again, a little bit of a square play, plus 101. Bournemouth, in their last 5 at home, 7 goals scored, 3 conceded, but their XG is over 10, according to Understat. They've gone over in 5 of their last 7 games, and they scored 2 or more goals in their last 7 in all competitions. And Wolves are showing a little bit of fight. They can score goals. Like, there's quality in terms of attack, but they've given up 2 or more in their last 4 away games. These two sides played to a 4-2 Bournemouth win in the first fixture between these two sides. Bournemouth in that game had a 3.29 XG. I'm expecting a similarly high scoring game. I think that Wolves are all right. They're going to be okay, but two teams that like to play high energy, attack minded football. I think the total of 3 seems a little bit low for me considering what these two teams are all about.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I was I was very tempted to make a Bournemouth play. I think that they are ultimately one of the 5-6 best teams in the league, and Wolves are, they're improving, but they're not that good. And I know we're not. You play the team, not the occasion, but you think about the other games in the teams around them this week. Chelsea go to Villa, Newcastle play Forest, City play Liverpool. So it's a really good opportunity for Bournemouth if they want to get European football. Because 3 of those teams, or maybe 6, if they all are going to drop points. But I left that one alone. The only other one I liked might be a small reach of such, but Newcastle to beat Forest at minus 122. I was surprised at how big the price was, to be honest, because
how bad Newcastle were at City last weekend.
Yeah,
they were abject, and it's been very rare. They've been good over the last few months,
and usually we get a reaction after those kind of performances.
Yep.
And they go on a bit of a run. I think they lost to West Ham, didn't they, 2-0, and then they rattled off 6 or 7 wins in a row. So it might be a bit of a wake-up call for them. But it's more around Forest, really, because they've, away from home, they've basically, their last 8 away games you can categorise into good teams and bad teams. They've beaten the bad teams, and they've lost or got hammered to the good teams. Fulham, Bournemouth, City, Arsenal lost all of them, but an aggregate score of 13-1. The XG aggregate of 9.9 to 2.5, so they've been absolutely hammered in those games. And then up against the lesser lights, the Man United, Brentford, Everton, Wolves, aggregate score winning 10-2. Yeah, I think that this ultimately is where Forest level is. I think that they've done great to get where they are, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them fall off. And these are the kind of games that they kind of need to get points in, but I don't think they will. I think their ceiling's around this. So Newcastle minus 122 looks a little bit too big. I expected to see minus 140.
All right. Those are a lot of Premier League picks and plays. Another almost 20 minutes on the Premier League. We got to fire through the rest of Europe because there's a lot of picks and plays to get to. And let's start in La Liga. What's caught your eye on Pinnacle?
This will speed it up. Nothing
Nothing this weekend in La Liga.
Nothing,
Yeah,
no.
like this is a rare weekend where I like more in La Liga than I do in Serie A, which has been a sweetheart of mine. Let's start off with Rayo Vallecano against Villarreal on Saturday. I think the price is too big, plus 204 to back the home side in Rayo, or even on the handicap, which is zero at plus 119. Rayo have won three in a row at home. And the match before that, um, they played to a 3-3 draw against Real Madrid. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10 overall, which is third in terms of the form table. And they lost 1-0 to Barcelona on Monday, and it was a controversial goal that was taken off, chalked off in that game. I'm still not really sure why. And they played well against Barcelona. Villarreal 2-1-2 in their last five away, 3-2-1 their last six, but they played a very weak schedule. The teams they played against just 1.15 average points per game. They played to a 1-1 draw against Valencia. They played Las Palmas, who are bad, Valladolid, which is bad, and still no clean sheet in their last four games. So Rayo, they played to a 1-1 this past season. It was 1-1 in this fixture last season and 2-1 for the home side in the time before. So I think you're getting some value by backing Rayo there. The line of the week that looks wonky is Valencia and Atletico Madrid. Perhaps you could explain this. You can back Atletico Madrid to win this game away from home at, what are they, 16th or 17th place Valencia at minus 104. And the total in this one is set at 2.25. Valencia has played much better in recent weeks. 3 wins in a row at home, but they came against Liga, Celta Vigo, and Real Sociedad. I mean, this Atleti side still haven't lost in 7. 1-1 draws away from home against Real Madrid and a controversial sending off last weekend in a 1-1 draw against Celta Vigo. They play in the Copa del Rey next week against Barcelona, and Koke and Barrios are out. So it looks like Conor Gallagher will come back in and play central midfield. Atletico Madrid won this fixture 3-0 and smashed Valencia. Like, have Valencia improved that much? Is there that much of a dip in Atletico Madrid? The line doesn't seem right. I don't know if you have any insight on this about why it might be where it's at, but I mean, you have one pretender and one contender, and you're getting the opportunity to play for an outright win at minus 104. Do you get that, Jake?
Yeah, I think it's down to Atletico Madrid's away form and process, really, because they've only won 5 of 11 away games this season. And they've actually got a negative expected goals process, which means that they concede more than they create on average. Their goal difference is +7, but their expected goal difference is -1. They've been very fortunate to have only conceded 8 goals. I think that's definitely got something to do with it. The fact that people are looking at this away process and seeing that it's pretty unsustainable, really. And like you said, there's an upturn in Valencia. It's a tough place to go when the fans are behind the team, which they've not been for a while. The main reason why I just didn't like the look at the whole slate, really. I thought it was quite a few tricky games, but the Valencia upturn is definitely one of them. I know they got spanked by Barca twice, but they were both. Yeah,
you're gonna kick yourself if you don't make that play on Atletico Madrid. It's so tempting. It's a good bounce back spot for me. I worry a little bit about the Copa del Rey game midweek, but really they're still in a title race. They need to win this game. And the way that it played out last weekend against Celta Vigo, I still think that it's worth backing Atleti in this game. We got to move things forward. 2 informed teams, Getafe and Real Betis. I'm fine playing the away side, Betis. The handicap is set at 0 at +108. The total's just set at 2 at even money. Either one of those. Getafe are 4-2-0 in their last 6 games and top of the form table, incredibly, in La Liga. But in their last 5 at home, they have an expected point total of just 3.92. Like, the process isn't there. Like, they beat Girona, but they had an XG of 0.96. They beat Alaves 1-0, an XG of 0.83. Goalless was Sevilla. They don't score enough goals for me to warrant being the favorite that they are in this game. Betis, I think that they're playing much better right now. Antony has caught some form, and there's some good players in this team. It seems like there's much more balance. The 3-0 victory over Sociedad on the weekend, they can score goals. 2.49 XG in that game. So, and Betis hasn't lost in their last 3 to Getafe as well. Betis won 2-1 last time they played, and 2.93 XG to 0.61. So I think backing the away side on Sunday makes sense. And maybe my favorite play of the weekend is on Monday. It's Sevilla and Mallorca. The total set at 2. Again, I'm fine to back the over 2 at -105. Sevilla, both teams to score in 6 of 8. They're coming off a 4-0 win at Valladolid, a 4-1 loss to Barcelona before that, and they hit 2, the total of 2, in 7 of their last 9 games. And 16 goals scored and 16 conceded in their last 10 overall. Mallorca, another manager who wants to play attacking football, somewhat limited at times based on the personnel, but they haven't kept a clean sheet in 7. They've scored only 1 in their last 6 away games in all competitions, but they've given up 12 away over their last 4 in all comps. They've also hit the total of 2 in 5 of their last 7 overall in the Liga, and they're coming off a 3-1 victory over Las Palmas as well. Again, over the last 10 games, 10 goals scored, 18 conceded. So, and if they played to a 2-1 in this fixture last season. So whenever I see those totals of 2, I'll get on it when it comes to the over. So those are my plays in La Liga this weekend. Let's move things forward to Serie A. Just one play I'm confident in, and another couple that we'll see what happens heading into the weekend. But what are you looking at in Italy this weekend?
Well, although I was stung by Como last week, I'm happy to back against them again because I think Napoli are too big of a price, plus 122. Yeah. It doesn't really make sense. So again, I'll just read out a couple of recent visitors to Como. Milan went off at -125, Atalanta -111, Juve +150, Fiorentina -111. They all went there and won. And Napoli are +122, the current league leaders. You can't tell me that they're not better or at least equal to all of those teams that I've just mentioned. Como have lost 5 home matches against the top 7 so far this season. That's all of their defeats. They're unbeaten against the rest of the league at home, but against the better teams, they fall short. Napoli away from home, 8-4-1, 5-0-1 away at teams in the bottom half. So they very much get the job done when they travel into lesser teams. Plus 122 just looked just too big. I expected to see at the very least even money. There's plenty of juice in there.
All right. That's one of my 2 plays. The other one that I really like, it's the Friday fixture. Udinese to win at plus 166 away to Lecce. Lecce have 3 wins in their last 10, and they all came against bottom 4 sides. Parma, Empoli, and Monza. And both of Lecce's last 2 wins came away from home. The Monza game was back in December, and I've already documented this, they're the worst side in La Liga. So Udinese, they're a mid-table side, but they played much better after a really slow start to the season. 2 wins and a draw in their last 3, including an away draw at Napoli. They also drew at Atalanta and beat Fiorentina away over the last 10 games. Lorenzo Luca is on 9 goals. He looks like he's going to go double digits for the first time in top flight Italian football. And Udinese won the last meeting 1-0. So at plus 166, that seems to be a good play and some good value to make that play as well. Anything else in Serie A for you, Jake?
Yeah, Atalanta on the handicap at Empoli. It's not going to make my top 3, but I do think that the price looks too big based on Empoli. Atalanta midweek, all sorts kicking off. Bad. Obviously eliminated by Bruges. Lookman missed the penalty. Gasperini came out, called him the worst penalty taker he's ever seen. Lookman's responded. So there's a little bit of off the field issue, if you like. But that's the only reason it's not going in my top 3, because they're playing against an Empoli team that are 0-2-8 in the last 10. They've won only once at home all season. That came against Como. Most recent results, they've lost to Torino, Genoa, Lecce, all mid-table-ish teams. Atalanta, they've been the second best team away from home based on the underlying data. They've got a 100% winning record against teams currently in the bottom 8. 6 wins from 6, and they've covered the handicap in 4 of them. So again, Atalanta win gets our money back. Atalanta win by 2 or more goals gets a winner. There's been a little bit, like I said, off-field stuff, but they're still in the title race. And I'd be very, very surprised if that kind of derails them, because they've been playing without Lookman for a while now. So even if he's sat on the bench stewing away, I think Atalanta have got enough to get past Empoli and at least win the game by a goal and get our money back.
It's just what happened midweek and the fallout from those comments. I want to see how that team bounces back. But Empoli are that bad. It made my list, but I'm just not quite there based upon all the external factors. To the Bundesliga we go to wrap things up. What do you have your eye on this weekend in Germany?
Yeah, there's a couple that stood out, and it's basically opposing the kind of big teams because I think Bayern Munich play against Frankfurt, and Frankfurt are given a pretty big head start for a team that have been very good in the Bundesliga this season.
Looks like Harry Kane is out
Harry
for
Kane's
injury as
Harry
well.
Kane's going to be out. He got taken off at half time, yeah. And Bayern's results against the better teams this season have not been good. Drawn with Dortmund, drawn twice with Leverkusen. They were very, very poor last week against Leverkusen. Drew with Frankfurt in the reverse. And most of those came off the back of European games where this obviously does as well. So I'd definitely be looking at taking Frankfurt on the handicap at minus 116. And then the other team is Dortmund opposing them. Again, it's not a massively confident play because Union Berlin are not the best side to try and get on side because they're really poor travellers. They've only won twice in 11 away games, 7 defeats. But it's more around Dortmund and just how bad they are following a Champions League match. They've got a 1-3-5 record, so they've lost 5 of 9 after Champions League matches. They only won once. Those games came against a mix of opponents. They won this in 5 home games as well. Union, the last away match, emphatic 4-0 win at Hoffenheim, getting a goal head start. I'm quite happy to take that chance at minus 103 that Union Berlin can be the latest team to take Dortmund after a midweek European game.
Okay. 2 looks for me really quickly. I'm backing Mainz just about every week. I just think they're the undervalued team. At home to St. Pauli at minus 118. Why not? Coming off a 2-0 win over Heidenheim. Burkhardt returned to the 11 with a goal and assist. He's had a really good year. They just continue, all the data backs them, and they're a top 5 or 6 side in the Bundesliga, but the markets are playing them like they're mid-table or just below that. So, Mainz 3 wins in a row over St. Pauli, beat them 3-0 this season. I think at home at minus 118, there's some value there. I'll just stick with RB Leipzig on the handicap at home against Heidenheim. Heidenheim has had a really bad year, just 1 win in their last 17 in the Bundesliga, no clean sheet in 7, first to concede in 7 of 7. 25 goals conceded away is the 3rd most, and they play Copenhagen on Thursday in European competition. They're taking a Leipzig side that haven't lost in 3. I mean, they've drawn too many games. That's what's kind of holding them back. But they need to go on and win this game if they have any expectation of finishing in the top 4. They've become healthy now all of a sudden. 2 wins and a draw in their last 3, beat Bremen, beat St. Pauli, drew Leverkusen. I just think they're in a good place. 4 wins and no losses in their last 5 against Heidenheim as well. But finally healthy, pushing for European football. The handicap is a goal and a quarter. I'm fine taking that at minus 112. It's actually going to make my podium this week at number 3. Just the spot. Like Heidenheim has been bad playing on Thursday. Red Bull rested, healthy again. I think it's a great spot to back Leipzig in that game. All right, Jake, your top 3 this week are?
My top 3, they're all just straight win bets. Brentford to beat Leicester, plus 101. Napoli to beat Como, plus 122. And United at plus 161.
Okay. I mean, I kind of wish I had a top 5, to be honest, this week. I'm having to keep Sevilla Mallorca off my list as well as the Napoli game. I'll go number 1. I'll go Brentford win and over 2.5. Just to get a little bit more extra juice at plus 178. I like Udinese to win at Lecce at plus 166. And then number 3, Leipzig against Heidenheim, backing Red Bull Leipzig on the handicap at minus a goal and a half at minus 112. For all your markets, go to Pinnacle, bet smart, bet Pinnacle, the best odds, the best lines on market. Jake, good stuff. Let's hope for that bounce back for me this week, and let's keep things going. The show has been profitable. We're going to continue to venture through. Champions League action coming back in March, and we'll be back next week. I think we might actually be back on Monday. Fingers crossed, as there's midweek fixtures, some big ones across European football as well. So stay tuned. Hit the like button. Please subscribe on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you get these podcasts. On behalf of Jake, I'm Wheels. This has been episode 29 of Pinnacle FC.